Hey guys, and today we're going to talk about Live2D. But first, I wanted to share with you guys some art that was given to me by Bogeyman, or Bogeyman, whichever. Thank you for this art. I appreciate you. So, let's first talk about Live2D. As you can kind of see, I've adjusted my character a little bit, so just based on stuff I've learned, I'm basically going to go through some of the things that I went through when working with Live2D. I actually tried to record it while I was making this model, and unfortunately, I don't think really much of it's worth showing because it was a huge learning process, and unfortunately, well, when it's a huge learning process, you're having to go back and redo and correct, and you spend hours doing one thing and then you go back and it's not right. So I didn't really have much to show y'all, but I did want to tell y'all about it. So one of my favorite things to do with Live2D was to make these eyes. The bouncing eyes were so much fun, and I can see why artists love making really cool eyes. Now, if you guys recall, I actually had bottom eyelashes, which I ended up taking off because they get really, really glitchy, and I felt like the eyes looked fine without the bottom lashes, but unfortunately, like, I tried, it just was super glitchy and I couldn't fix them. The next thing that I really enjoyed doing was the hair, and the only thing I don't really quite understand yet, so I use VTube Studio, and with VTube Studio, it basically takes your model and brings it to life. And with VTube Studio, I'm not entirely sure why the physics don't move as much as I want them to. I'm still trying to understand why certain physics move more than others. Like my little antenna, they move quite a bit, and so do my wings, but my hair doesn't seem to move as much. Also, one of the things that I notice is my Y's don't really work as well, and my X's don't work as well, and I've tried to adjust it, and I'm not entirely sure as to why. So maybe if you guys know, y'all can write down in the comments. I'm probably going to do some more tutorials on how to figure out why the x-axis doesn't work as well as it should, or the y-axis doesn't work as well as it is right now. So, unfortunately, I feel like this model from the waist down is a little bit choppy. I apologize. It's my first model. This is my very first. I'm trying this out, and you know, I love it. I really do like the model, but I'm gonna tell y'all, Live2D was a headache sometimes. So while I was doing each part, I had fun, but there were times I had to go back and completely basically delete what I did and having to redo it entirely, and oh my gosh, it was so much work and hours upon hours of learning. As you can tell, I added a new mouth, and that's because my old mouth was glitching out when I used it. So I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to change it up. So I ended up redoing the mouth. Another thing that I had to go back and redo was, basically I had to redo the legs and everything. I had a lot more movement in my legs. I had a lot more movement in my lower body when I first created this. So one of the unfortunate things that happened when I did Live2D was I rigged the entire model. I was so happy. And then it kept giving me Java errors. Like, I couldn't export it. It worked in the program, but I could not export it. It said I had some Java memory errors. Now, I have some of the strongest computers. Yes, I have memory, but it was a different type of memory. It was like a short-term Java cache memory that apparently I went over, and I think that's because I initially did this model in Procreate. And when I did it in Procreate, I did it at a very, very high pixel count, and so because like we're talking about tens of thousands pixel count, and because of that I think that kind of messed with it. Well, the lower body in particular, the lower body, it was just something was wrong with it. I had to completely delete it and recreate it. So yeah, it just, oh my gosh, I spent an entire day just being frustrated and trying to figure out why wasn't it not accepting it. And I was tearing my hair out. I was so frustrated, but I ended up figuring it out, and a lot of it I found had to do a lot with my atlas map, I think is what you call it. So when you create a Live2D model, you have to add what's called an atlas map, which the atlas map has all of your basically parts on one page, and it takes that part page and says, oh, well, this is what this looks like, this is what this looks like, and this is how we animate these parts. And so you basically give instructions to VTube Studio of how to animate those little parts, but you have to give the VTube Studio those parts. It has to see the parts in order to be able to animate it. Well, that's where the problems lied, was that like my atlas map was just way too big, too many pixels. And if I dumbed down the pixels, then it looked very pixelated and didn't look good. So I had to basically just redo part of the model. When I found out that the waist down was what was creating the problems in the model, I just had to delete it all and start over again, and it sucked. It was not great. But guess what, guys? I loved Live2D so much that I want to create another model. I actually started drawing another model because I had another model idea, and that is to be announced. I basically just showed y'all a piece on X, and there I have a basically sketch of the model. It's a Batgirl, and she's going to be hot pink, and black is basically the theme colors, but that's all y'all know. The rest is to be announced. I am super excited to do a whole nother model. I know I'm putting myself through this again, and honestly, I honestly have so much to learn, and there's some pretty crazy, insane stuff people have done on X. And then last, I really want to learn how to do the animation. I've taken tutorials, but I haven't really messed with the animation part. I've just done the rigging. I've rigged the model, but animation's slightly different when you want something to be looped. But thanks, guys, for all of your support, and I appreciate you guys watching my videos and all of your support and all of your kind words. It keeps me going, and it keeps me wanting to create more and more stuff. And even though Live2D was a huge headache, I am still gonna go back and do it again, because honestly, it's so far the best program I've ever used for anything animated, and I'm just obsessed with animation. I'm gonna say one thing too. Even though I struggled so much with Live2D, I feel like I've pretty much learned it. Like, I've learned a lot of how to do it. I've learned what to do, what not to do, what to do with the sizes, and how to make the meshes, and adding meshes. Oh, another thing I'm gonna say too is my eyes were all messed up. I had to redo the physics on the eyes. Like, it was not good, and I figured out what was messing with it and how to fix it. But I love these eyes. Man, I spent so much time trying to make them look cool and bouncy. So yes, it's really a process, and maybe in my next model I can actually show y'all how I do it, because the first time I'm probably not going to share much of those videos. There's just too many mistakes, and I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes. And now that I've pretty much nailed a lot of it down, I'm going to share that with y'all next time. So, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this with me today, and like I always say, don't quit creating, guys.